What's up everybody? I'm Diana from Starker's Corsetry and welcome to day 3 of our social distancing project, part 3 of our corset sew along that I'm calling Stays at Home. We're not really making stays, but I mean, the pun is just too good to pass up. Stays at home. I kind of dig it. Anyway, today we're going to be cutting and prepping our corset mock-up. The reason for a mock-up is to make sure that your corset is perfectly fit to your body and your measurements. It sort of helps to show where any issues are in the fit, where any wrinkles are, crinkles, little baggy bits, and it really helps to tighten down exactly where any little adjustments need to be made from your pattern. And then you can go back to your pattern and make those adjustments on your paper pattern. So you'll have the pattern, your paper pattern, be perfectly fit and adjusted to you and be ready to cut anytime you need it. I've spoken with a few corset suppliers who sell fabrics like coutilles and corset boning and any type of sewing supplies you may need to build your corset and busks and things. And we've got Farthingales in Ontario. They're going to be shipping for the next little while. They're not planning on going anywhere yet. And the same with So Curvy as well as Vina Cava in the UK. So we've got a few places that are still happy to ship and able to ship for the time being. So that was really good news to hear. I am recording during the daylight here, which is kind of awesome. I've been burning the midnight oil trying to get out all of my clients' mock-ups and corsets and things like that in the mail. While the mail is still going, I don't mean to be overly paranoid, but this is just, it's what I do. I get a little overly paranoid sometimes. And I kind of worry in advance about things. And well, I've stocked up on needles and I actually panic bought way too much ribbon from Mokuba Ribbon, and I might do another project with that I'll show you. But yeah, panic buying ribbon, you guys. It's the danger's real. So what's the tea today? I have in my magic teacup, it is organic super ginger from David's Tea, of course. I am a big David's Tea nerd. You might know this already, but it's awesome. It's a really strong ginger tea, and it's just, you know, it's nice to help you feel like you're fighting some sort of bug, even if you're not. I'm still feeling good, but you know what? Ginger tea just keeps you kind of warm and it smells lovely. So how are you guys doing today? I know that this, at least in Canada and Ontario, we have the March break for kids. I have a tween almost and a teenager, and they were supposed to be on March break this week anyway, so we kind of already planned to have them home. But they're going to be home for the next couple of weeks after that as well. And I know a lot of people are a little bit nervous, especially if they're small business owners or if they're in the service industry. It can get a little stressful. I hope you guys are doing okay. And yeah, thinking of you guys. What are we going to need today for our corset mock-up? We are going to need about a yard, well, 3/4 of a yard of really heavy canvas or a really heavy muslin. This is going to give us a really nice, solid, strong base for our corset mock-up. We are also going to need our corset pattern that we worked on in the previous 2 episodes of this sew along. You're going to need a ruler. You know what? I like these ones a lot. These are really great, especially for my Canadian self who tends to jump back and forth between inches and centimeters. It has both. You can see through them. I love these things. They're great. You're going to need a pencil. This one's really fun. I got this at the Tower of London, and it's got this little raven dude on it. Isn't that cute? Anyway, also you're going to need your favorite pair of scissors for fabric and fabric weights. So my fabric weights, this is Louis. I love him. I got him at Harry Potter Worlds a few years ago in Nocturne Alley. Super fun place. Anyway, Louis, my fabric weight. I also use this antique iron, which is also a really fantastic fabric weight. Louis and I are ready, and if you guys are ready, let's get cutting. Sometimes, no matter how much you press your fabric, you are going to have a few little factory creases here and there. As long as you're aware of them and they're not going to be getting in your way, that's totally fine. Sometimes, no matter how much pressing, you're still going to get that. Make sure your selvages are folded together and keep them pointed to the left side. Make sure they're exactly right in line with one another and they're not overlapping, kind of like, you know, they're not off or anything like that. Just make sure that they're really nice and tightly together, and iron out just with your hands all the little bubbles and things, and then get your corset pattern. Pretty much every corset pattern, I would hope there should be a grain line on each of them. They're usually up and down. Sometimes on the second pattern piece, you can see a bit of a diagonal one, and if your particular corset pattern calls for a diagonal, go ahead and use that. And we'll be using just the straight up and down for now. We're going to start by placing our first pattern piece with the straight edge right at the center front selvage, just like that. We don't need to put the busk in the mock-up necessarily and our finished product. So what we're gonna do is just leave our front placket out of the way for now and just cut out our back placket. Just trace around the corset pattern. And if you do that, also just draw in where your notches for your waist, ribs, high hip and low hip are, because we're going to be needing those as we prepare our mock-up. And when you take your fabric weight off, you should have a well-traced pattern piece right there. Diana, why are you not using pins, you might ask? Well, I'll show you. Pins can cause a little bit of warping of the fabric. When we go to put our pins in, you can see how it can bump up a little bit like that. You can create a little bit of an artificial turn of cloth with this bump, whereas a fabric weight keeps it nice and flat. You have your whole pattern traced out now with all of the notches. It might end up being a little bit scribbly. If it is, just true up some of the lines with your ruler. And now we're ready to cut out our fabric panel pieces. So we get our fabric weight again, put it down, and we want to cut right on the inside of our pencil line because we probably traced on the outside of our paper. So we're going to want to cut just on the inside of our line. Shoot, you guys, I almost forgot. Something you should also have for this stage are 4 differently colored markers. And if you happen to have something super cool like this little notcher, grab that too. If not, a pair of scissors will be just fine. But 4 differently colored markers and a ruler for this stage. Now that you've cut out all of your fabric pieces, lay them all out side by side. Before we get started with anything else, it's a really, really good idea to mark on each of these what they are, because sometimes it's easy to get them shifted around and backwards and forwards, and then you're never gonna know what pieces are what if you're not totally familiar with the shape of your own pattern pieces. mark them either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or A, B, C, D, E, or center front, side, side back, center back. That's how I do it typically. But for today, I'm going to do panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to leave the placket for the back out for now. Then I'm going to turn them all around and write it on the back as well. Panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, and panel 5. I'm going to take one of our Sharpies and draw all the way across the waist lines of each of your corsets in the same color. And oh no, you don't have any markings on the back. This is where this cool little thing comes in super handy. It's a notcher and it notches right on through to both sides. But if you don't have a notcher, just grab your scissors and just put a little clip through, or you can just draw a little mark through either way. These are all gonna be in your seam allowances, so it's perfectly fine to put a little notch in there and it won't harm your overall pattern at all. When you've got each of your pattern pieces notched or marked, flip them over to the other side and draw the waist in on the other side as well. Next, do the same with your ribs. Also your high hip. And if you need to, mark in your low hip as well. And there you have it. You should have all of your muslin or canvas mock-up pieces cut out. They should all be marked, each with their own number or letter, and have the waists, ribs, high hip, and low hip if necessary marked, so we can use that as a fitting reference tomorrow. Well, there you have it. You should have your pattern pieces all cut out and ready to go for sewing them together tomorrow. And I'll see you tomorrow. Louie and I wish you happy sewing, happy cutting, and we'll get sewing our mock-up tomorrow. Bye, guys. The teenager, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, I almost forgot. Something else you should probably have for this stage are 4 differently colored markers. Why?